24 hours, dedicated reading. Let's see how we do. Hi, welcome to Royally Reading. I'm Sam. My sister and I are currently in isolation, so I figured what better time to do a 24-hour reading challenge. I've seen these a lot cycling around. The first one I saw, I will link down below. It's also from this booktuber right here. So all the credit to them and whoever started this originally. But basically, I'm going to be reading for a total of 24 hours to see what all I can get through, see if I can catch up on some reading I've been meaning to do. So I'm going to have a timer, because I'm not going to read for 24 hours straight. That is just insane. So I'm going to have a timer that I'm going to use on my computer or on my phone to keep track of the time, and we'll see where I get at the end of it. I'm going to be trying to finish A Party for Thaera. I have about 50 pages left in that one. I'm also reading Amethyst, The Shallows. I'm about to start this one, so hopefully that's good. But before I jump into that one, I have 2 chapters left in The Witcher, The Last Wish, so that shouldn't take too long. I have about this much. So I was reading these 1 chapter a night before. I was only taking about 30 to 40 minutes max to get through one. But if I'm able to just hardcore focus on the reading, I feel like this by itself should take me no more than 40 minutes or an hour to get through the remainder of it. So hopefully that's done by the end of this video. I will also be trying to finish Chalice of the Gods, the newest Percy Jackson book. Very excited about this. I have actually started this one too. I'm about just under halfway. So that will be one of the ones I hope to finish very, very quickly into this experiment. I'm also going to be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, No Brainer. This is the newest Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. I've been reading the series for several years now with my sister, and we really, really love these books. So these don't tend to take very long since they're epistolary. So that's another one. And lastly, the hope is to get through books 3 and 4 of Vampire Diaries. Hopefully, I'll be able to allocate my hours to finish each of these very well within the 24-hour time period. So, 24 hours, dedicated reading. Let's see how we do. Okay, back with my first update. It's been 26 minutes and I finished reading A Party for Thaera. A Party for Thaera, Palestinian Women Write Life in Prison. It's right here. This book was published in 2021, but the women whose stories are written in it were imprisoned like in the 80s, and they were released either in the 90s or early 2000s. So while it's a newer book, it completely, like the experiences in it completely predate current events, which is how I've structured a lot of my reading, you know, to have historical context. This one I had read halfway already, so I wanted to finish the last half. I had 43 pages, finished in 26 minutes. This one takes me a little while because these reads tend to take a bit. I like to sit with them a little bit after I finish them the first way through. So I read through and then I take time to go back afterwards. But they usually hit really hard emotionally, so it takes me a minute to read through some, and then I usually pause and then I jump back in because they are very, very heavy, very emotional. 26 minutes into the 24-hour reading challenge, and I've already knocked out one of the books I was meaning to. If this is one you want to check out, it's A Party for Thaera, Thaera, Palestinian Women Write Life in Prison, and it's edited by Haifa, Zangana. I'm going to have that listed here and in the description box below. There'll be all the books that I'm reading, so you can have easy access to all of that information. I'm going to take a little break, and then we'll see about jumping into the next 34 minutes of reading for this first hour and see where we get. I'll figure out what I'm reading next and we'll go from there. So I'm back with my next update. I've completed 2 hours of my 24-hour reading challenge and I've finished 2 books that I was in the middle of. So I just finished The Witcher. Very good. This is The Last Wish. It's the first book. I'll be talking about it later, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to jump into my 3rd hour here in a minute. I just have some work stuff I gotta take care of. But once I'm done with that, it'll be time for Dark Wimpy Kid No Brainer. Greg Heffley knows what's up. Newest reading update. I'm halfway through my 3rd hour and I already finished the 18th Thaera Wimpy Kid book, which means I'll be using the remaining half of this hour to hopefully, between this one and hour 4, finish Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods. My sister's been hounding me to finish reading this, so she'll be thrilled once I finally get through it and we can chat. I've wrapped up my 4th hour of reading and I finished Chalice of the Gods. Yay. So now I'm going to be getting started on either rescuing Crockett or the next volume of Vampire Diaries. Or I might alternate. Figure it out once my reading gets rolling again. An update on my 24-hour reading challenge. I finished Rescuing Crockett. I had to stop doing my timer because I took this book on the go with me. So you might have seen on my Bookstagram that I was reading this at a dentist's office. So when I was there, I've been timing myself on my computer, and I was using my phone that day. So I couldn't use my phone for the timer. I don't actually know how much time I spent on this one. I just know that I've gone through 5 hours when I've had my computer in front of me with the timer on. This is done. Okay, so final update on my 24-hour reading challenge. It did not go as planned. Yeah, I'm calling it. I'm calling it at 5 hours. Because it's been like 2 weeks or so, something like that, since I started. And I had so many things I was reading, and trying to count them all for this challenge was an impossibility I did not foresee. During the quarantine period that I had that started all this, I spent some time doing, if you follow me on Threads, you might have seen that I shared my thoughts on several MCU projects. So I watched season 2 of Loki, I watched Miss Marvel, I watched Quantumania, and it was super fun, and I really needed to catch up. But that took away some of the time I had for the 24-hour challenge being dedicated, because I get a lot of interruptions from my family during the day when I'm not in quarantine. And some of the books I read in general offer book tours, or they're specifically like arcs or author reviews, and with the deadlines I had, I found that I was carrying those with me out and about when I didn't have my timer. So if I come back and I say, hey, I'm in hour 6 or 7 and I finished this book and I'm starting this one, but I never actually counted the time for it, it kind of throws off the challenge, right? So I don't want to do that. I'm going to call this challenge a failure at just 5 hours. I did finish several of the books I wanted to, but with the quarantine period being over 2 weeks ago, it just hasn't panned out the way I was hoping, especially because I also spent some time playing Pokemon. I'm terrible, I know. I was working on bulking up my Pokédex, so I lost a lot of time between the MCU and Pokemon for my reading. But I do want to revisit this challenge. I do want to complete it. And I'm thinking a better way to do it would be, instead of counting everything that I'm reading, to just maybe focus on a genre and stay there for the 24 hours, if that makes sense. That way I can always make sure that the book I'm reading for it is timed, even if other stuff isn't. So, for example, I have several classics I want to read through, so I could do a challenge focusing on those, because if I just have these at my desk where I keep my timer on my phone. I could keep better tabs on it, or maybe sci-fi, because there are also, I have a lot of books in a lot of genres that I haven't read that I want to read. So I'm thinking maybe like classics or sci-fi, or I don't know. I have a ton of romance books in my backlog. I have Hooked, I have Icebreaker, I have Practice Makes Perfect, and then I have several on my phone because they're Kindle books. And so like I have The Spanish Love Deception and several hockey romances on there that I could be using for a challenge to actually see how much I read of that in 24 hours. I feel like it'd be way easier if I just compartmentalize and really focus my reading instead of trying to read anything and everything I'm usually tackling, because it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm kind of weird. I read multiple books at the same time. I'm constantly balancing between arcs and tours and books I want to read and books that are on my TBR. So trying to put everything together, I don't think it worked, and I don't think I was really going to make it work. First attempt at the 24-hour reading challenge, failure. Epic failure. But definitely anticipate me coming back and trying this again. I think we'll do romance. Look out for that. And again, if we can make that work, then maybe we'll just start doing it as a genre thing, and you'll see a 24-hour classic reading challenge from me and a 24-hour sci-fi challenge from me. I won't do them at the same time, though. That would be a disaster as well. But maybe throughout the year, we'll try to put some sprints together and see if we can get those roll. I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be really fun. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for rooting for me, even though I really royally messed this up. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!